You ever scroll online and wonder why certain stories just blow up? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a really fascinating genre that's pulling in millions and millions of views on places like YouTube. I'm talking about the modern moral fable. Just listen to this one line from one of these viral videos. It just perfectly sums up the raw desperation at the heart of these stories. It's a question that kicks off this whole emotional roller coaster of incredible hardship and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of hope.
So what's the secret sauce here? What makes these stories so incredibly compelling to so many people? Well, to figure that out, we're going to break down two stories that seem totally separate on the surface. But as you're about to see, they share this remarkable and really powerful underlying formula.
Okay, let's dive in. We're going to meet two families, Raju's and Asha's. Both are hardworking, honest families, and both are about to face a sudden crisis that pushes them into the exact same, completely unbelievable situation.
So on the surface, they lead pretty ordinary lives. They're just trying to work hard, provide for their kids, but their paths are about to merge in a way that, honestly, neither of them could have ever imagined. And it's all because of one single object.
And notice this. The stories both kick off with this sudden crisis that is totally out of their control. This isn't about them making a bad decision or some personal failure. Nope. It's an external force, an eviction, a lost job that just, boom, instantly makes them helpless and homeless.
And here it is. This is that surreal, totally unforgettable image that ties these two tales together. A regular, everyday object, a plastic water tank, is suddenly transformed into this incredibly powerful symbol of desperation and survival. It literally becomes their home.
Okay, so after the story establishes this extreme, almost unbearable hardship, the narrative takes a pivot. The focus shifts from just surviving physically to a crucial test of their moral character.
So think about this. They are at their absolute lowest point. They have every excuse in the world to be selfish, to just take what they need. But both characters get faced with this crystal clear moral choice. And, as you can see, they both choose to do the right thing, to be honest, even when it seems like it's going to cost them everything.
All right, so both families are stuck in the same impossible situation. But how they get rescued, well, that's where the stories split, and they show us two totally different ideas about how goodness and kindness actually work in the world. First up, let's look at Raju's story. His rescue is super direct. It's almost like a cause and effect kind of kindness. He's living in a world where a good deed is seen, and it gets immediately and proportionally rewarded.
I mean, just look at how cleanly this plays out. The moral universe here is simple and just. Raju's one single act of honesty doesn't just get him a thank you, it literally solves his entire crisis. Bam, here's a home. Bam, here's a job. Helping someone else is the direct key to his own salvation.
Now let's switch over to Asha's rescue, because this follows a completely different logic. Her salvation doesn't come from a stranger rewarding her. It comes from an awakening of conscience in someone who, up until that point, was pretty much the antagonist.
So in this version, the rescue comes from her suspicious boss, who has this sudden, massive change of heart. It's the shocking sight of Asha's reality, seeing them living in a water tank, that transforms her from an accuser into a savior. The hero isn't really the poor person, it's the person who finally chooses to see them.
So when you put these two stories side by side, you can now see the blueprint really clearly. There's a definite, repeatable, and really emotionally powerful formula at work here.
This table basically lays out the 5 key ingredients. First, you start with the virtuous poor, a hero who's fundamentally good despite their poverty. Then you hit him with a sudden crisis that's not their fault. You anchor the whole thing with an unlikely symbol, like the water tank, something super visual. Then comes the moral test, where they prove their goodness. And finally, you get the moral resolution, salvation through kindness. It's a simple, powerful, and crazy effective recipe for a story.
And this really gets to the heart of why they're so popular. The world often feels complicated, right? It's messy, it's unfair. This formula gives us a little escape. It taps into this deep, human need to believe in a world where goodness is eventually seen and rewarded, and where a simple act of empathy can actually be powerful enough to solve a problem that seems impossible. It's a really powerful idea to think about, isn't it? These stories are basically proposing that maybe the biggest force for change isn't some grand system, but just a single human act of compassion. And maybe that's why millions of people keep clicking, to see if the family in the water tank will finally find their way out. What do you think is the real reason for their appeal?